For years before I met this next guest, I had a larger-than-life image of her from the amazing stories Kedren would tell of the days when they were babies together running an AIDS housing organization in Baltimore. I heard stories about fundraising at leather bars and tattoos and piercings and navigating, the intricacies of Baltimore aristocracy. Both of them went on to have very different careers, but we're going to find out how Kedren and Mary Alice found each other again. Welcome to The Behaviorist with Work Wisdom, where we help you adopt high-performance mindsets, behaviors, communication, and culture. I'm your host, Sarah Colantonio. Our intention for the Behaviorist podcast is to share accessible, concrete practices that you can weave into your whole life to begin a shift toward joy and meaningful achievement. And today, we're turning our focus on creativity to revolutionize achievement. Mary Alice Yeskey, who is the creative director at Work Wisdom, is joining us today. Hi, Mary Alice.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us today, calling in from Baltimore. So I have many questions. I want to jump into them. First and foremost, I think our listeners will be curious to know, how did you come to work at Work Wisdom? I want all the details.
Well, it's a long and an amazing story, actually. I think it's amazing.
I do too.
And it starts a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. In 1998, I had just graduated college and was applying to a bunch of different jobs, as one does when one is now an adult, and was very lucky in that what I was very specifically looking for was a nonprofit job, specifically in AIDS and HIV activism. And I found one in Baltimore and went to work for a tiny little nonprofit called AIRS. And my boss was a wonderfully cool lady named Kedren, who hired me. And I have so many memories about that happening. I mean, when you get your first job, it's such a big deal. And the interview process and meeting her and the rest of the staff. So I worked with Kedren at AIRS. We worked together for probably about 4 or 5 years. I started out as the kind of office administrator there and then moved into a development position. Kedren was smartly sort of grooming me to kind of move into some of the things she was doing. And it was an amazing job and an awesome time. We were very young and scrappy and all the things that you kind of romanticize about your first job out of school. And Kedren and I were kind of a dynamic duo when we were there. It was a very life-changing time for me.
Yeah. And so then you came to Work Wisdom.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot in between. So there's like 20 years in between. So Kedren left AIRS when she started her family to stay at home with her then newborn son. And I stayed on for about maybe a year or so after that, and then went on to different jobs in the nonprofit world and lots of other places. Yeah. But Kedren and I stayed in touch. Some years more so than others. There were, big chunks of time where we didn't, see each other for a long time. But and then she moved to Pennsylvania and, her family was growing and I was sort of, on a similar trajectory, but just a few years behind. So, I got married, I went to grad school, I had children of my own, and throughout the years, typically when I was facing some sort of massive life crisis about what to do with my life, I would call on Kedren because she was from the day I met her, she was such a strong mentor figure for me, really kind of a big sister when we worked together. And then just someone who I've always wanted to emulate, whose opinions I valued, who was just smart. And I'm not just saying this because she's my boss now. So, whenever I was wanting to quit a job, wanting to know, can I work and be a mom, work-life balance? Should I quit a job and stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom? All of those moments in my life, the first person I called or emailed was Kedren. So we had stayed in touch, and then I did that. My family grew. I have 2 children now, and I ended up staying home for many years. And then about 6 or 7 months ago, she sent me a message and just said, "Hey, can you come up I want you to meet Sarah, and I want you to see where we work, and I have maybe a little marketing question for you, kind of nonchalantly. And I know Kedren enough to know that was, I was like, I don't know if this is what I think she's saying it is. So I prepared myself for what I thought might have been a very clandestine job interview. Which it kind of was. And so anyway, we had lunch, you and Kedren and I had lunch. And you and I met, which was wonderful. And we all just kind of fell into, the same type of manic hand gesticulating, excited talking. Because Kedren and you kind of explained where you guys were with Work Wisdom and kind of how the business had come to be and what your needs were in terms of marketing and social media and messaging and all that good stuff. And she basically said, hey, do you want to come do this? And it was the most easy yes besides her hiring me in 1998, it was the second easiest yes I've ever said in my life. I didn't even have to think about it. So 20 years later, she hired me again. And it was pretty amazing. And there's a song by The Who where they say, meet the old boss or meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Oh,
and that's my new, my theme song for Kedren.
Oh, I'm so glad. All right. So at Work Wisdom, what do you do at like a high altitude level and then at the granular level as well?
Well, high altitude, I guess the loftiest way you could say it, I think, is that I shape the messaging for the organization, and I take the work that you guys do with the clients and I translate it into a way so that the rest of the world can understand the amazing work that we're doing and grasp it and understand how it works and how it can help them. On a real granular level, day to day, I handle the graphic design for the company, the social media for the company, some of the writing, most of the kind of marketing decisions, and then a little bit of project assistance here and there. But really, marketing and communications is what I'm spending most of my time on.
Yeah, the new lookbook for 2019 just came out. I don't know how much time you had to put into that, but it's lovely. It's wonderful.
Thank you. And that's the other thing is I went to grad school for graphic design, but didn't end up doing that. My career track kind of had a couple U-turns. And so it's not something that I had been actively doing every day for a long time. And it's just felt so good to kind of get back in there and like remember all the keyboard shortcuts in Adobe InDesign, which I'm now remembering. And it's been such a joy to kind of do what it was I wanted to do to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cool. When you think about our winning aspiration, how does creativity contribute to revolutionizing achievement?
I think it's essential. I think if you really want to parse down what you guys do, you help organizations change for the better, and change cannot happen without creativity. Change cannot happen without thinking outside the box and, brainstorming and spitballing and throwing 100 different ideas up on the wall. It's really the root of what you guys do, and it is creative. You can think of it in more technical terms, what you guys do, but at the heart of it, it is creativity. It's
absolutely,
it's fertilizing. It's helping change. You know what I mean? Going from one thing to a bigger, better thing, and that in its essence is creativity.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is a choppy question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's the most interesting / useful thing that you've learned / is there something you've learned that you wish you knew 10 years ago? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. You mean things that I've learned like working for Work Wisdom?
Yeah, recently.
The thing that I think I'm so aware of now that I wasn't, that in retrospect is kind of hilarious because having listened to you say it so many times now, it's so obvious, is how important listening is. And it's a point that, having listened to the podcast and read all your material, it comes back to that over and over and over again. And there were a lot of things, at other jobs and heartache and pain and frustrations where I think if everyone was just listening to each other better and stopping, just taking a moment to stop talking and just truly listen to somebody, and you have to learn that. And I think I'm better at it now than I was 10 years ago, but how crucial that is to so much of an organization's success is something that you specifically, Sarah, have definitely taught me, because it just kind of, every time you mention anything, it's like, oh, and the first step to do this is listening. It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. It's a big one. It's simple, but it's hard. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like this next question, which is, what's the weirdest thing about working at Work Wisdom? Or, I mean, surprising.
Well, I was surprised when I found out that not everybody is there, that I'm not the only sort of lone person kind of calling it in, phoning it in. It's a wonderful thing that the organization, you can hire people that live in New York and live in Baltimore and still be a cohesive team. I think the thing that surprised me the most is, although this isn't really surprising because I do know Kedren, but I think across the board, everyone on the team at Work Wisdom and the whole vibe of the organization has such a, what am I trying to say? There's such a high priority put on everyone learning. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's so eager to learn, and even at the top. And that's such a rare thing, I think, when you have leadership that can be, not, I don't know if humble is the right word, but not have to be the smartest person in the room about everything. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to know when you are, that's important. But to know that, like, oh, hey, I don't know anything about this. Like, let's all listen to somebody that does, or let's all, I don't know. There's an eagerness and a hunger to learn. And knowing that you don't know everything can really make you so much more of a better mentor for somebody.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Maybe that's one of those values that's not explicit, but is, Yeah,
it's not listed on our values list, but it's there. It's totally there.
Definitely. That's fascinating. So back to creativity. How do you tap into your creativity? What gets you there? Or is it just always happening? Are you one of those kind of people?
Oh, it's always happening. I have a ticker tape in my brain that sometimes I can't turn off. I think the main thing I do, which is something I learned in grad school actually, which is to just constantly be looking at stuff. That sounds silly. Visually. I mean, I'm constantly kind of visually, if there's a Instagram post I love, I save it. If I see a picture of something and I'm taking a walk, I snap a picture, and I keep on my phone. I have a couple different folders, and one of them is just called cool, and one of them is called keepers, or one of them is called I don't think good design or something. You know what I mean? If I just see something that is well done, just save it. Even if it has nothing to do with anything in your life, just save it, because you know that it's good design. And I think looking at everything as a source of inspiration is a way I kind of keep going, and to not just limit yourself to, oh, here's a nice annual report. I'm going to remember this when I need to do an annual report. Like, that's great. But also, this bag of chips is a cool design. Save that too, because maybe that's going to be the cover of your annual report color scheme. You never know.
Okay. That's very cool. I would have never thought about that. I'm glad you're doing this for us.
I'm glad to be able to. Trust me. It's such a symbiotic relationship.
I agree. Do you have advice for other creatives that are in world-changing organizations?
I think my main advice would be to not minimize the importance of what a creative or marketing or communications person does in an organization where there is amazing things happening. I think, especially in the nonprofit world, it's the programming side of the nonprofit where things are happening. You know what I mean? Right. If we're a food bank, it's the programming side that's giving the food to the people. But like the marketing person it's writing up this and taking pictures of that, and you can feel sort of detached from the mission.
Yeah.
And I think if I had any advice, it would be to don't let that turn into a bigger wall than it needs to be, and don't minimize your work as not really making change. You know what I mean? Like, you are making change because that photo you just took could bring in a $10,000 donation. Right. You don't know. And I think you can you can self-doubt yourself into a corner if you feel like you're not, I don't work at a creative firm doing this, that, and the other. It's like you're still doing that important work, but for a better reason. I think that would be my advice. Know your value. Know your value is my advice, which I should also take.
Yes. I was just thinking about this notion of, I interviewed Ayana Ehrman, who started Imagine Goods, the clothing company. And then they have this new line coming out. And I was thinking about how, they have the infrastructure, they have all the things going, and how important marketing is going to be, because their company actually helps people who survived sex trafficking and are getting paid a good wage to do design and sewing and all this stuff and make clothing. And so it's like, it feels so important. And so it's the kind of thing where, definitely, like the part about getting the message out and the right message out that's going to be so key to their success.
Yeah, it's crucial, because otherwise it's another T-shirt, Right. But I mean, if you know what happened to make that T-shirt, it becomes something extraordinary.
Yeah. Yes. So one of our core values at Work Wisdom is originality. And so as a creative, how does that frame your work? Thinking about that.
My work specifically for Work Wisdom, it's framed in the sense that to always remember to let Work Wisdom sort of speak for itself in a way, I think. One of the first things I asked you guys when we met for my secret job interview, my quote unquote lunch that I knew what it really was. One of the things I asked you guys was, who are your competitors? That's the first thing I'm going to ask any company where I'm sitting down to understand who they are and what they do. Yeah. And I remember getting a couple names and sort of then going home and looking into it and Googling it and figuring out kind of the temperature of everything in other organizations. And there aren't any. There isn't a company that does what Work Wisdom does. And that's super important. And I think, we talk about in the work that we do, we talk about differentiators, and that's crucial, but don't spend all of your energy saying how you're different from somebody else. Spend a lot of energy just explaining who you are and how you're magic in your own way. And I think that, like I said, just sort of speaking for itself as opposed to saying we're not Pepsi and we're not Coke, I think can be way more powerful, especially, when somebody's coming at you at a point when they kind of need assistance or need help. It's like, just kind of show me what you do and show me the magic that you make. And that's a much stronger story.
Last question.
Okay.
If the genie in the bottle could grant us one wish, what creative act would you want us to do at Work Wisdom?
Okay. I have a vision. I have this like pie in the sky. You give me $1 million and this is what I'm going to do. One of the things about Work Wisdom that is challenging is that you can't see the work in the sense that I can't show you this shirt that we made. You know what I mean? It's kind of like this shirt wasn't so great and now it's better, but I can't really show you the process. Yeah. So my creative pie in the sky wish list would be to like have a film crew somehow in a really awesome candid documentary way show a client's journey with Work Wisdom. You know what I mean? Like really show it. Like here we are and we're in this place where we need to change or we're going through this, and then to show, the communication and what happens and the skills and all of the things that are going into it on the back end, and then the kind of like reveal, like a before and after sort of. But it's hard to do. It's hard work to describe and explain because there's confidentiality stuff and there's also just it's a talking and learning process. It isn't there, there's no tangible product. So anyway, my genie in the bottle wish is a documentary crew to follow us for a year and create the greatest movie ever about Work Wisdom.
Oh my God, I'm going to obsess about this now.
Have I created a monster now?
Well, I had like a little tiny seed of an idea about this, and now you've just it's blown wide open, and now
oh boy, okay, all right, well I'll start getting the chalk for the clapboards and getting ready.
Okay, perfect.
I'm excited. Excellent.
Oh, Mary Alice, I'm so grateful to you for being part of this movement of helping world changers in the workplace enhance their individual and collective team performance. I'm so grateful to know you and glad that you're part of the team. And you were so cool. I hope one day that I am like half as cool. Maybe I should like a fifth as cool as you are.
Oh my goodness, Sarah. We're all cool. We are all cool. We are a cool bunch of people. Everybody's cool.
See, you would say that. Of course, you would say that.
That's the coolest thing I could say. How cool you are. Oh
so,
my goodness.
Thank you so much for being on. Thank you, listeners, for downloading The Behaviorist. We hope you'll subscribe. Mary Alice wants you to subscribe to the podcast. Please reach out to us through our website, workwisdomllc.com. You can enjoy Work Wisdom press and productions, ask questions, and give suggestions of topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes. Thank you again, Mary Alice.
Thank you, Sarah. This was a joy.
As is our custom, we'll leave you with 1 Minute Wisdom by Anthony DeMello. Said a traveler to one of the disciples, I have traveled a great distance to listen to the master, but I find his words quite ordinary. Don't listen to his words, listen to his message. How does one do that? Take hold of a sentence that he says, shake it well till all the words drop off. What is left will set your heart on fire.